Hey y'all, welcome back to Tea by Cleo. My name is Cleo, and here's what I learned about tea this week so you didn't have to. History of Matcha edition. As always, all of the research that I'm using today will be linked in the description of this video below, so make sure to check that out, y'all, and let's go look at the history of matcha. Yes, matcha has blown up so significantly now, but its significance existed long before its current popularity. In fact, matcha goes back nearly 1,000 years to a time when dynasties ruled China and the shogun clans ruled Japan. Specifically, the first signs of matcha appeared during the Tang dynasty in China, which spanned the 7th and 10th centuries. During this time period, the dynasty steamed tea leaves into bricks to make harvesting, transportation, and trade much easier. They would do this by grinding up the tea leaves and mixing them with water and salt. However, what made this method of tea popular was the Song dynasty, which reigned during the 10th and 13th centuries. Isai, a Japanese Buddhist monk, spent most of his life actually studying Buddhism in China, but in 1191, Isai permanently returned to Japan, bringing with him tea seeds, along with the Zen Buddhist methods of preparing green tea. These tea seeds were considered to create the highest quality of tea leaves in all of Japan. But even then, matcha did not have the ceremonial significance that it does now until the 1500s, when a Zen student named Mureta Yoko brought together several fragmented practices of tea ceremony and crafted it into a formal ritual that included the cultivation, consumption, and finally the ceremony of tea. Zen master Senrokyu, however, is credited with the popularization of Yoko's tea ceremony ritual. Since this, Senrokyu has become the most prominent and significant figure in Japanese tea ceremony. Let's take a look at some of the history behind the bamboo whisk that is used to make matcha traditionally. So if you didn't know, which to be honest, I didn't know either, around 600 years ago, the Japanese bamboo whisk was first created in a small Japanese village called Iwatakameya. Hopefully I said that right, I probably didn't, but anyways, this was during the Muromachi period, which occurred during 1336 and 1573. And originally, the ceremonial practice of matcha was only for the elites. Fun fact, pleased with the craftsmanship of the Takayama whisk, Murata Yoku eventually gifted them to the emperor, who was astounded with the beauty and the craftsmanship of the whisks. Actually, the traditional whisk is crafted from a single piece of bamboo. Additionally, it's created in an array of thickness and strings, also known as prongs. A bamboo matcha whisk can have anywhere between 16 and 128 prongs. Accordingly, the higher the string count, the easier it is to whisk your matcha in the traditional M motion, which contributes to giving matcha its sweet, airy, and smooth texture, and the reverse is true for a lower string count. Make sure to check out my video from last Friday to learn a little bit about the care and cleaning process for a matcha bamboo whisk. It is widely held that Japanese matcha is better than Chinese matcha, so that's what we're going to cover in this section of my video, the difference between Chinese and Japanese matcha. There are quite a few core differences between Chinese and Japanese matcha. This is going to be separated into color, texture, taste and flavor, pesticide exposure, and price. Let's get into it. So first, color. Simply put, Japanese matcha is a significantly brighter, more vibrant green than Chinese matcha, which has a dull color and a yellow hue. In Japan, the matcha leaves are intentionally shaded a few weeks before harvesting to put the plant into stress so that it releases more chlorophyll, which makes it its vibrant green color. Moving on to texture, Japanese matcha is strictly monitored and cultivated, giving it its refined, delicate texture. On the other hand, Chinese matcha is not as carefully monitored and uses machinery to process it rather than being processed by hand. Additionally, in Chinese matcha, the stems, branches, and vines are not separated out from the leaves, which results in a variety of textures and particle sizes, leaving the matcha almost sandy-like and giving a grainy texture in your mouth from time to time. Taste and flavor. Japanese matcha has a significantly sweeter taste with much less bitterness on account of the way that the farmers take soil care to the next level, y'all. Accordingly, there are delicate and entirely unique microbiomes in the soil of tea farms in Japan that are just not found in Chinese tea farms. Additionally, the shading of the plant impacts the taste and flavor of the tea. In contrast, Chinese matcha often has bitter flavoring. Additionally, it's not grown in shade the same way that Japanese tea crops are, and the soil is just not comparable. A little bit on pesticide exposure and price. Empirical studies found that Chinese matcha is exponentially unlikely to demonstrate the same lab-tested purity and potency levels of pesticides as Japanese matcha. Simply put, this literally just means that Chinese matcha has more pesticide exposure than Japanese matcha. Accordingly, on account of everything I just covered, Japanese matcha is significantly more expensive than Chinese matcha. This, however, is not a bash at all on Chinese matcha. This is simply just covering the differences based off of the research that I conducted. Okay, let's look at the difference between culinary grade and ceremonial grade matcha. So first, ceremonial matcha. Ceremonial matcha is the highest graded matcha that you can possibly get, and while it's great on other things like smoothies or baked goods, it's best experienced straight, just as it is, hot or cold. Additionally, what makes this tea its highest grade is the young leaves and buds that are at the top of the tea plant and are picked during the first harvest of the season. These leaves and buds are extremely fragile and have a higher concentration of L-theanine, which gives them a naturally sweeter taste. Also, during this first harvest, the stems and veins are extracted from the buds and leaves, making it a higher quality because it's more labor intensive. Culinary matcha, on the other hand, is harvested during the second and third harvest of the season. In Japan, the second harvest is referred to as Matcha, which means the second tea, and refers to the second harvest of the year occurring during June and July. Sabanancha, you guessed it, means the third tea, and this is the third harvest of the season. During this third harvest, the tea leaves are much older and have been exposed to the sun for a lot longer, so they're of a lower grade. On appearance, later harvest matcha has less chlorophyll in it, making it less green and therefore less vibrant than ceremonial grade matcha. Also, one of the ways that you can quickly tell the quality of a matcha without getting your hands in it, literally, is just by the color that it is. The more vibrant green that it is, the higher quality that's going to be, and the more dusky color it is and yellow it is, the lower quality it's going to be. Let's look at matcha now. Simply put, it has blown up over the years. The global market for matcha is expected to grow at a compound annual rate of 9.44% between the years 2022 and 2027, reaching an expected revenue of $5.5 billion by 2027. Y'all, that's a lot of money. This data, by the way, is from 2023, and the article that I got it from is a little extensive, so I'm not going to go into every nook and cranny of it, but I just wanted to give you all a picture because 5.5 billion is crazy. Let's talk about some different ways to make matcha. Even while there is a traditional way to make matcha, which y'all should go check out my video from last Friday to get a little picture of what this traditional process looks like. There is no right way to make matcha. There are so many things that you can do with matcha. It's really like a blank canvas for y'all to just experiment on. You can put it in baked goods, you can put it in smoothies, you can make it hot, you can make it iced, you can make it a latte, you can put coffee in it, though it already has a lot of caffeine, so I will probably be bouncing off the walls. But anyway, the point is, you can even put sparkling water in it. There is so much you can do with matcha and with tea in general, so I really just encourage y'all to experiment and try new things and see what drinks are good and see what drinks are maybe not so good. What matters is that you're experimenting and that you're having fun with it. Thank y'all so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Also, comment down below what your favorite history fact about matcha was. Lastly, before you go, make sure to check out my Instagram for all things tea, and I love y'all and I hope you found some rest today. Bye!